The implementation of a verdict concerning former Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has been thrown into question after a statement by the court. The Thai Supreme Administrative Court had found Ms Yingluck liable for the payment of about $300 million. This was in damages incurred by the state under a rice pledging scheme launched by her government more than a decade ago. But on Monday, the court said it did not have the authority to force the former premier to make that payment, raising questions about what this means for Ms Yingluck, who remains in self-imposed exile. CNA's Saksith with this analysis.
The statement by the Thai Supreme Administrative Court on its verdict against former Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has raised more questions than it clarified. Not only is it casting doubts about what exactly the consequences are for her, but also for future governments to come. But first, let's go back to last week's verdict. The court found Ms Yingluck, who was in office from 2011 to 2014, liable for damages from alleged corruption for her government's landmark rice pledging scheme. The policy was aimed at helping farmers by buying rice at 50% more than the market price. It ended up costing the taxpayers billions of dollars, and the government was stuck with an oversupply of rice. Thailand's finance ministry earlier sought $1 billion in damages from Ms Yingluck. And on Thursday, Thailand's Supreme Administrative Court upheld Ms Yingluck's lawsuit against that, but still holds her partially liable for $300 million, half of the losses incurred by the state. A few days later, the court now insists that it has no authority to demand the former prime minister to pay up. According to the statement, the verdict says only two things. First, the original order by the finance ministry is unlawful, and secondly, Ms Yingluck is at least partially at fault for the failed policy. It doesn't say that she has to pay these $300 million and who's supposed to collect it now. The original finance ministry order to seek damages from Ms Yingluck was issued in 2016 under the military regime that toppled Yingluck in 2014. That government had far-reaching executive orders that enabled officials then to make that claim. But now the governing Pheu Thai party is closely linked to her brother, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who remains influential in Thai politics and is headed by her niece, current Prime Minister Paetongtarn. The party controls the finance ministry, and with less hostile figures in charge, observers are watching to see if the ministry will go after Ms Yingluck for damages. CNA has asked the current finance ministry for a comment, and as of this recording, we are still awaiting a reply on what they might be doing next. But beyond party politics, this has wider ramifications. Ms Yingluck Shinawatra is in self-exile since 2017 and is facing a jail term for negligence in that rice scheme. Last week's verdict casts more doubts over whether she now has more legal trouble that will hinder her from returning to Thailand. And furthermore, this verdict could set a problematic precedent. Could a prime minister be personally held liable if a campaign promise or policy goes wrong? This could severely hamper future governments from designing the campaign promises or policies if they don't want to be dragged to court over it. The verdict not only leaves some space for interpretation, but it could also lessen the political space for the powerful Shinawatra clan to freely operate in the current political climate in Thailand. Saksith Saiyasombut, CNA Bangkok.